Okay, welcome back to OK Tech. This is lesson 2 of the short course on Excel, Microsoft's spreadsheet application used for numeracy, accountancy, finance, business data, statistics, charts, basically anything to do with this numerical data. And you want to lay it out in all the typical formats used for school projects, university projects, business projects, and so forth. So, in the first lesson, I covered the introduction of the interface of Microsoft Excel, and also together with that, various data types. Really introductory. It was about text, numbers, decimals, whole numbers, dates, things like that, and just a few ways to actually format those. There'll be later on lessons going into more details on formatting and presentation. This one will be about navigation in the sheet. I just typed a few things in the main page, but as your projects get bigger, you'll want to navigate over to use more of the space on the spreadsheet, or you'll want to navigate down the rows. So it goes down to about row 30, but you'll probably fairly quickly have more data than that. And I'm also going to talk about these tabs on the bottom, which each one is a separate spreadsheet. And as your projects grow, you'll have probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on, different spreadsheets, which is all part of the same project. And when you save your file, it'll save all of those sheets together as part of that overall Excel project. So what we're looking at here is just one spreadsheet in the project, and here is another spreadsheet in the same project. And that becomes very helpful to be able to separate your data or different parts of your project onto different sheets. And then I'll also talk about Excel's cell referencing system. You can see the cell which is highlighted at the moment is called C4. It's a bit like the coordinates on a map, or the coordinates that you might remember from maths at school, where you've got the x-axis and the y-axis. So this cell is C, column C, row 4. This cell is D, row 7, and it highlights them colour as yellow. And if you select a number of cells, then you've got columns D to F, row 7. Or you could have columns D to F, rows 7 to 10. And there's lots of stuff to do. As you're clicking around, there's lots of stuff to do with cell references that I can tell you about. For example, you just see on the top left hand here, it gives you that cell reference. And if you were to type another cell reference, for example, B200, then it will jump you to cell 200. Or if you type cell Z56, you'll jump to cell Z56. And then when it gets to Z, it goes to AA, so AA56, that border will just move over 1. And there's also an AAA 15,000, it just shows you how big the actual thing is. And that goes on even down to something like 1,000,000 rows. Okay, so navigation, that's one way you can do it. You can just select a cell and jump to the cell. Alternatively, you can take your mouse and click on the left mouse button on the scroll bars to go across or to go down. Alternatively, you'll see then the scroll bars are shrinking because it's measured from the top row. So you've now got from rows 1 to 50, and you can only see on the screen 13 of those rows from 38 to 50. And if you use the scroll bar, you can navigate around that way. And the same with the horizontal one to navigate the columns. Another way to navigate is, rather than going side to side or up and down, which are called translations, you can also do zooms. Oh yeah, and a further way to navigate up and down the rows is if you don't press the left or the right mouse button, if all you do is put your finger on the roller, then when you roll the roller towards you, it will scroll down the rows, and when you roll the roller away from you, it will scroll up the rows. So that's quite an easy way. That's easier than clicking on the scroll bar. So wherever you are, if you just roll the roller without clicking the left or the right mouse button, you can go up and down the rows. Now you notice at some point I expanded the size of the cells, and that's very helpful because if you've got data far over to the right or far down, you may want to zoom out to actually see that data if you had some data here, for example. Or if you can't visually see the font size on the screen, so if it was in a very small font, something like that, then you might want to scroll in on that in order to actually see that data. Actually, I wasn't a particularly good example because Excel adjusts the font size to rescale anyway, but it would work better if we were talking about a set of numbers, something like that. And obviously if you've scrolled out a long way you can't see them, but then if you zoom in you will be able to see that data. So the zoom function is pretty essential, and if we go back to the start, there are a couple of ways to zoom. You couldn't see how I was doing it because I was using a keyboard shortcut. The most obvious way is down here on the right. This is the zoom bar, and it's got plus at the right, minus at the left, and it's got this little rectangle in the middle. If you move the rectangle in the direction of the minus sign, it zooms out, and the magnification factor is the number given as a percent. So this is at 50% of the original magnification, which means you're it's sort of like being twice as far away from it. And this is at 100%, which is the original scale when you open the file. And there's at 200%, which is twice as magnified. So now you're almost like, if you could imagine it was an aeroplane looking at a grid system in a city, it's like you've come down to half the height and you can see all the cells twice the size. And then 400, now you've got 4 times the size. So you can use the mouse. So what you do is you hold the left mouse button down on that rectangle and then you slide. And for everything in Excel, if you hold the left mouse button down, it's selecting it. And the same thing if you click on the plus or you click on the minus. So that's a way to resize and rescale your spreadsheet. You had the scroll bars, you had the zoom bar, you had typing cell references in here, and then a final one is the shortcut which I used, and for that you have to press the control key down and keep the control key down on the bottom left of your keyboard, and then you use the roller in the mouse. You don't press the left or the right on the mouse, you just use the roller. So you press the control key and you use the roller. So if you don't press the control key and you use the roller, you just go up or down. If you press the control key and use the roller, it will expand or shrink it. Okay, a final little bit then on these on these sheet names at the bottom. You can change those sheet names. If you right click on the sheet name, if you right click anywhere in an Excel sheet, it will always bring up a menu. If you right click on the name of the sheet, it will bring up this menu: insert, delete, rename, and so on. Now insert and delete would be to either insert a new sheet, and it comes up, would you like to insert a worksheet? Yes. Would you like to insert another worksheet? Okay. Delete will just delete the worksheet. That's gone. If you put some data in it, it will do it slightly differently. Data exists. Do you want to still delete it? Yes. And then the final thing I'll show you here is you can rename the worksheet. So let's say you had accountancy data for every day of the year, and it would be January, February, March, and you just do it like that. Okay, thanks very much. I'll chat to you in the next tutorial, which will be about Excel formulas.